Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm sharing all of the products that I love using when I want a barely there makeup look, but I still want to look polished. I guess you could call this maybe like a bump up from a no makeup look. Everything is super neutral, really lightly applied, and I'm just going through all of the products that I just reach for that look nice and natural and fresh on my skin. So this is the look that I'll be doing for you guys today, and if you're interested, then just keep on watching. Alright, so I already primed my face with my Makeup Forever Nourishing Primer. Don't really think primer's a big deal when it comes to no makeup essentials or barely there makeup. Just use whatever primer you have on hand. For my foundation, I'm going to be using the Makeup Forever Water Blend. I think I've only used this on camera once, but I raved about it all on my social media, and several of you guys were upset that I never did a review on this foundation. And the reason I didn't do a review is because there was already so many reviews out. By the time I got my right shade in this foundation, there was just already, I mean, I could probably think of 20 people off the top of my head that had reviews on this foundation. But I'm going to talk a little bit about it while I'm applying it today. So I'm going to use the Makeup Forever Water Blend. I'm using the shade Y405, which is totally shocking because I normally do not exceed a Y315, I think, is like the darkest color I've ever worn in any Makeup Forever foundation. But since this is so sheer and I am self-tanned, I just have to go with a darker color. So I'm just applying this with a BH Cosmetics angled foundation brush, and I'm just going to apply this all over. I'll probably do a couple layers because this is a really buildable foundation. It just looks gorgeous on the skin. You cannot tell it's on your skin. Makeup Forever does such a good job of formulating foundations to actually look like skin. So that's why I'm using it in today's video, is because it truly is a barely there makeup product. You cannot see this on the skin. So I'm just going to buff this in with my brush and probably apply 2 layers. Alright, so this is the Makeup Forever Water Blend on my skin with nothing else. I absolutely love it. This has been my favorite foundation ever since I got it in over a month ago. I've been wearing it non-stop. It looks amazing in photographs. It's just so ultra lightweight. It feels great on the skin, and it's buildable. You can obviously layer products over this if you want a fuller coverage, but if you're the type of person that wants immediate full coverage, don't even waste your time on this foundation because you're not going to like it. It is literally just breathable, beautiful, healthy skin looking foundation. If I could just narrow it down, I guess that's what I would say. Alright, so let's move into concealer. One of the most blendable concealers that I have ever came across out of the oodles and oodles of concealers I have in my collection is the bareMinerals Bare Skin Concealer. So this is actually very similar to the Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer. I feel like this one is a little bit more hydrating, and it does blend into the skin just a little bit better because it is that serum texture. So I just do a few dots all over underneath my eye area. That's normally where I need the most coverage, and I'm just going to blend that out with my beauty blender. Obviously, for more sheer looks or barely there looks, using a beauty blender is definitely key if you want products to just come off a little bit more natural, whereas when you use a brush, they come off a little bit more full coverage, which is why I used a brush with water blend, because if I used a beauty blender with my water blend foundation, I would literally have to apply probably like 20 pumps of foundation. I'm not even joking. So for more full coverage products or medium coverage products to get that natural look, a beauty blender is definitely a great idea. So for powder, I actually mentioned that one of my favorite powders of all time to use on my skin when I want to look like I have absolutely no powder on is the NARS Translucent Crystal Light Reflecting Setting Powder. But when I talked about it in my bridal video when I used it, a lot of people said that they experienced flashback with this product. So I have another one that's really similar that I also use, and it's the bareMinerals Hydrating Mineral Veil. It's really lightweight, really feathery, and it has these I don't know how they formulate this, but it has these almost like moisturizing capsules in it, and when you apply it, it feels really cooling on your skin. So I'm going to use my mineral veil in today's video since I recently used the NARS crystal powder, and I also just apply a small amount to the cap, and I take my beauty blender and just buff it into my skin or press it in. Product I've talked a lot about on my channel, and as far as bronzer goes, this is probably the most natural looking bronzer I have in my collection, and it's the Perricone MD No Bronzer Bronzer. So this is a serum bronzer or a liquid bronzer, and it just comes out looking perfect every single time I use it. It's got the right amount of warmth to it. It's not too warm, but it's also not a cool tone product. So you can really just get away with using this for like an all over slight contour and bronzing. So I'm just gonna put a little bit on the back of my hand and tap some onto my beauty blender and just press that into my skin as well. And then what I like to do normally is just set that liquid bronzer with a powder bronzer. I like using a loose bronzer. So one that I use a lot is the CoverGirl True Blend Minerals Loose Bronzer. This does have shimmer in it, so be aware of that if you aren't a shimmer person, but I like a little bit of a glow. So what I do is I just take a big fluffy brush, kind of like the Real Techniques blush brush, and I just kind of go over those areas where I bronze my face with the Perricone MD bronzer, and this also gives my skin a little bit of a glow since it does have a little bit of a shimmer to it, but it's not excessive as long as you don't go overboard with this bronzer. I mean, if you apply a ton of it, you probably will have quite a bit of shimmer coming off on your face, but if you just use a small amount like this, you shouldn't have any problems. For blush, one of the most subtle blushes that I own in my collection, and I've talked about many times before, is MAC's Warm Soul Blush. And I always talked about how this never really shows up on me. It just gives my cheeks a hint of color, and I always wondered why it never showed up on me. And a couple of people in my last video brought up the point that when MAC redid the packaging on a lot of their products, they reformulated, and so they said that this is the new version of Warm Soul compared to the older version. And I always thought that the newer version looked a little bit more peachy than what the original Warm Soul was. So that's why I guess this never really showed up on me. But I will be honest, when I want something like super subtle, this is the blush I will use. It just adds a touch of color to your cheeks, a little bit of a glow because it is the mineralized formula. But yeah, if you aren't a blush person and you, you know, don't want anything too crazy, too fancy, Warm Soul is definitely going to be your go-to. Most of the time, if I do want a super subtle highlight, I'll use the Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector poured version. This is a just really subtle skin-like highlight. It doesn't come off like their pressed version does, and I just take a little bit onto my beauty blender and I just pop that onto the back of my cheek. You can see right there, it's just super subtle. It's not anything crazy, and it, for the most part, it does stay on for the entire day. You can get like the full effect, the full glow for the majority of the day, but this is probably, I would say, one of the most subtle highlighters out of my collection. For a fast, natural brow, most of the time I'll reach for my Anastasia Perfect Brow Pencil. For everyday use and really precise brows, I use powders, I use my MAC eyeshadows, but I really find that the Perfect Brow Pencil is a little bit more on the natural side, and it's quicker for me to actually fill my brows in, so that's what I'm going to use for you guys today. I've talked about this product on my channel for the past 2 years now, I believe, and I just love it so much more than the Brow Wiz or the Dip Brow because it is way more of a natural formula. So one of the most natural ways I feel like you can define your eyes with eyeshadow is to take a really dark brown shadow on a thin angled brush or any type of flat brush and just stamp that into your actual lash line. And this really just makes your lashes look a little fuller, especially when you apply mascara or even your false lashes if you do that on a daily basis. But I'm just going to stamp that as close to my lash line as possible, and then after we're done, we're going to smudge it out and make it look a little bit more just diffused. And I just always feel like this, for me, kind of just enhances my eyes without having to take a ton of steps with shimmering eyeshadows or applying stuff into my crease and things of that nature. This is just always a quick fix, and it generally makes my eyes, since I have such an almond shape eye, it generally makes my eyes look a little bit more rounded as well. Obviously, you could just apply your mascara and stop here, but I wanted to do something fun and a little bit different compared to what a no makeup look or just an everyday natural look would be, and I'm going to apply some of these Kiss lashes. These are called trio lashes, so they're actually very similar to individual lashes. They just have a trio set on them, so they're a little bit easier to apply and they don't take as much time as what an individual lash would do, but they still give you that similar kind of natural wispy effect. So I'm going to use these today, and this is my first time using them, so we will see. So now I'm going to line my lips with the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Lip Pencil in the shade Naked. This is a lip liner that's almost the natural color of my actual lips. So I'm going to use that with my bareMinerals Far Out Gloss. This is kind of just like a transforming pearl gloss. It doesn't have any color to it. It just gives you that nice glossy, shiny finish. So I'm just going to use this as my actual lip color.